Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for Managing to Lead, Elevating Impacts for Staff, Students, and Community. And with me today, I'm pleased to present Steve Buss. He is a principal at Altoona Middle School in Wisconsin. Hi, Steve.
Hello, how are you doing, Dawn?
I'm good. So glad that you're able to join us today from Wisconsin and kind of share your experience as being an administrator and the work that you do with your teachers and students every day on a really important topic. And with that, you'll see here the handout, which Robin, who is in the background, is going to be putting in the chat box. So that's the handout that Steve has put together of all the resources, the ideas, the strategies linked in there. So feel free to grab that at any time. And with that, I just want to introduce Robin too. She's in the background. Hey, Robin.
Hi, Dawn. Hi, Steve. And thanks everybody for joining us today.
Excellent. Robin's there. If you run into any issues, feel free to reach out to her in the chat box and she will help you with that. And of course, this webinar is being recorded. So if you're attending live, you can get access to the recording after. And those of you that are zooming in later, thank you for doing that. Today's webinar is brought to you by Blue Apple Projects. These are project-based learning units that are meant to engage students, teach the content your teachers need to teach, all while making the world a better place. And because you're on this webinar, you can save 10% on your next project for your teachers using the coupon code webinar. Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn things over to our presenter, Steve. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Dawn, and thank you, everybody, and thank you for welcoming me to give this opportunity. So in our Managing to Lead webinar today, we're going to talk about 3 specific things. Really, it's 2 just wrapping up at the end. We're going to talk about our 10 core concepts for leaping forward. And by leaping forward, I mean leaping forward to have the impact that we want with our kids. The second one is 5 common management problems that impact school leadership. Now, for those of you who like linear presentations with everything happening right in a row, you may find this interesting. The 10 core concepts and the 5 common management problems, I'll be weaving them together throughout the webinar and then having the opportunity at the end to go ahead and bring them back together for you. So first things first, let's start with a poll. And before you jump on Friday, I want to clarify the question. So what's your favorite day of your unique school week? I don't mean the favorite day of the week. You know what your week looks like. You know what typically happens on each day of the week, and I'll say typically because we know there's no such thing as a typical day. But what is your favorite day? For example, I'll lean in mine. Mine's Tuesday. I know I have 3 different PLT meetings I get to meet with. I also know that I have personally, that's my best day. I exercise in the morning. So what is your favorite day of your unique school and week?
All right, Steve, I'm going to give them about 5 more seconds as they keep rolling in here.
Thanks, Robin.
All right. Interesting. So we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday all at 25%. 0% for Monday.
So no love for Monday. We've got a balance across the board. All right, fair enough. Well, that means you did some actual reflecting. We didn't just jump on Friday if I didn't give that clarifier. But that means you have something special that's happening on those different days, and we'll just leap past Mondays. All right, getting into the meat and potatoes here. We have to go ahead and look at ourselves and what we do. So the first thing is we've got to come clean. This is what our day looks like. Let's be real. Our day is not very predictable. We have a lot of things that take place that do pose challenges for us. And we have a lot of individuals who want our time and we need to give them our time, various stakeholders. So whether it's whack-a-mole or the lines that you have at the office door sometimes, it's our role to be available for others and to go ahead and help balance different things. So without a doubt, the pace that we have is definitely fast and fragmented. I think that we all have certain things in our calendar that we know are going to take place each day, but we all know that there's the other things that just find their way in there. Also, the difference between school improvement needs and school management demands. We know our role has changed over the years where, I'll say way back when, our building administrators used to just be management and logistical leaders. That was it. Our role has changed significantly that we are the instructional leaders of our buildings. And also that multiple stakeholders, whether it's our students, our staff, our community members, our parents, we are there to go ahead and assist and to work with them as best we can. So as we move through the presentation, I gave you a couple icons as cheat sheets. So as we see certain things that are 10 core concepts or 5 common school management problems, you'll see those icons there, and I'll do my best to weave them together for us. So the first things first is our first two of our 10 core concepts is getting more students over today's bar definitely requires that we work differently together. We know that bar is ultimately wherever if your school district sets that, but we want our students to be successful and ready for their future, whether that's college ready, whether that's career ready, or ready for the military. They need to be ready for all those different areas. That bar has changed significantly over the years. As we're looking to get our students to that level, we need to think with a win-win-win model. And what that means is we can't make a deal that we know is going to bite us 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, or maybe it's almost going to get us there, but we know there's one problem that won't help. We have to make sure we pick strategies that are going to get the biggest bang for our buck and in that win-win-win model. So do you agree or disagree? There's an optimal design for every function. Give you an example to go ahead and think about this. Two very different, slightly different organizations. We have Google and we have the United States Army. Both definitely have their own core function and their own mission. For example, from a Google perspective, they pride themselves on innovation, on creativity, on free-flowing ideas. That works exceptionally well for their focus and their model. Contrary, from the US Army, much more specific when it comes to guidance, to leadership, to command and control, to following orders, to not having that freedom, but being able to follow specific things when necessary. So do both of them have their own? They do, and they both serve a separate focus. So for us, our core function is, hopefully you're answering with student success. In the end, that's where our bottom line comes down to. So looking at a school function match game is you have 3 options on the left and 3 on the right. In your own mind, kind of connect the dots. I'll pause for a second. All right. So how'd you do? We know that school has changed over the years. Where years ago, students used to just come to school and they used to go ahead, we'd help them learn and we move them forward. Now it's much more specific where we need to make them ready for all options for their future. So looking at, this is our first piece of the 5 common school management challenges that come, is that design and function mismatch. We need to make sure that, and we have evolved as schools, where the design and our function has changed dramatically, and we have to make sure that all aspects of our building and of our systems are also changing along the way. One specific, small but yet not small example is that relationship and how you function with your main office, whether that's your dean of students, your assistant principals, your admin assistants, is that you need to have a shared vision and shared goal. It's not just everyone working in isolation and doing their own pieces. We need to work together as a team and supporting the vision and mission of the building. So next 2 pieces that we have, we talked about our optimal design. So we use Google and the US Army as kind of an example. We do have our own design for us. And also our core function, we know that focuses on student learning and success. So student learning and success, when we had the diagram that came up, the quiz that was there, it shows us that those demands have changed over time. And I'd say probably in the last 5 to 10 years, they've started to remain somewhat constant. But if you look back at 15, 20 years ago, I'll date myself a little. When I was in school, I'll use that phrase maybe a couple times. My principals were fantastic. I know they were not instructional leaders because they were not expected to be in that role at that point, but our role has changed. This image is something I'm sure many of you have seen before in the analogy of a mason jar with the big rocks, the little rocks, and then maybe the sand afterwards. If you try to put the sand in first, there's no way you'll fit everything else in. So you see the phrase, the main thing is to keep the main thing, the main thing. That's where you think about our big rocks. Our big rocks are the most important things that we have in our day, whatever that looks like for you. And for us, that has to focus around how we continue to move the needle for our students, supporting our staff and other means that we have. So we have to keep that main thing being our big rocks. And how we do that, looking at our scheduling ourselves, is very important. So one of those main things is developing our teachers. We do evaluate our teachers, but that's just a part of our process. The biggest piece is actually developing and coaching our teachers. So if you look at a core idea there, by receiving that bi-weekly observation and feedback, a teacher can get as much development in 1 year as many receive in 20 years. There is no perfect model. I think we've known our different schools in our areas, and we've spoken with other people where some teachers don't see a coach or a administrator come in to provide them feedback, sometimes for months or even a year. That's sad to hear. Our job is to go ahead and make sure that, yes, we provide evaluation for our staff, but we also provide them coaching. So how do we make this happen? Since we all have so much time on our hands, where does that come from? So it comes back to our analogy with the big rocks and the small rocks and how we go ahead and organize ourselves. This is not my calendar, because my calendar I was sharing with Dawn is written in some type of hieroglyphic code that would not make sense to you. So this is just an example that your big rocks, whether that means getting into classrooms to go ahead and just simple observations, if it means an actual educator effectiveness or a more of a mandated type of an observation, or being present in your PLTs, whatever those big rocks and small rocks look like, you have to build those in your day first. Whether it's day to day or whether it's for your whole year, build those things in there. The one thing we didn't talk about with the jar analogy was white space. White space is something where you see literally the pockets on your calendar. A suggestion is don't book yourself solid. I know I have some colleagues that they actually book their white space and they call it work time, which makes sense. But you need to give yourself some time to do some of the logistical, managerial types of things that come up throughout the day. Also give yourself time to reflect. Whether you're going into a classroom working with a teacher or if you're doing other pieces, you need time yourself to do those types of things. Now, where we work, I'm sure many of you have seen this, this graph before. Where we work is very important, where we want to work, I should say. If you look at all four, where would you think you'd want to work? Crossing my fingers, we didn't pick anything but important and non-urgent. That's where we want to focus our day. We're going to be able to be selective of the tasks that we get to work on. Now, we know some days it doesn't work, but we also want to work on tasks that I'll say aren't on fire, not urgent. Sometimes we have some things that are on fire that we need to take care of, but we want to schedule the majority of our day and plan our system where we get the opportunity to help our building and our students move forward, working that important and non-urgent area. A piece that can help us with that is open door policy. This is our second of our 5 common school management challenges. Here's where I'll be honest, this is a huge shift, and a shift for me that I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting there. Is there any other company that you can think of? And we are a company, we are a business. And whether you want to call yourself the CEO or not, you are. Is there any other company that their CEO is just available at all times? And someone can just come in and grab some of your time, whether it be a parent or a staff member? It doesn't, but for some reason, schools have changed themselves to be that open door policy. I'm not here to tell you don't do it. I'm here to just ask you to go and consider the possibility of changing that slightly. Leveraging your admin assistant to be your gatekeeper, to making sure they're helping you to preserve the time that you have, because let's be honest, they can solve most of the problems that come your way anyways, because they're awesome. But at the same point, they can help you just schedule those types of things. If you schedule an actual meeting, it's that win-win situation where you're prepared to have a discussion with that person, and also they have your full attention at that time also. It's also important to go ahead and communicate your availability of how you want to have that modified open door policy to your stakeholders. You don't have to read these in great detail right now, as you'll be able to reference these afterwards, but it's important to share with your staff and even have an automated email response to everyone else, just letting them know your procedures. So that way they know when you check your emails, that way you don't get stuck in email land, which we know happens. But also they know when you will, and they know that you don't just hover on that and respond in 30 minutes. There's certain times of the day you do that, and also a way to get a hold of you afterwards. Also, if it's something urgent, they know how to go ahead and speak with someone right away. So a point from I'll call Leadership Theory 101 is in order to impact performance, coaches need to be where the game is being played. So let's look at a sports team. I don't think we have many of our sports teams where coaches are off somewhere else, not actually on the field with their team members and actually playing, actually practicing. So for us, the game is played in the classroom. And that's where we need to make sure that as hard as it can be, we need to carve out that time to make sure that we're there. There are certain things that may pose barriers. Some of you laugh because some of you, this might be your desk. I am a live and die by post note kind of guy, and I take a great satisfaction of crumpling up one and just making it go away. Of course, one replaces it shortly after. But another piece of those 5 core common management challenges is that desk and email inbox tyranny. Making sure that finding a system that works best for you. A phrase that was always used to me is you don't want to touch it more than once or twice at most. Whether you have a filing system that works for you or whether you have a different piece that helps organize yourself while still getting the jobs done that you need to, is making sure that works for you and it's timely. So 3 pieces that we reviewed from our 10 core concepts is the main thing is really to keep the main thing the main thing. And we talked about, we used the analogy of the big rocks, of the importance of getting in the classroom, the importance of actually leading our staff and actually nurturing and developing our staff. That has to be our main thing. There are going to be many challenges we know and distractions that come our way and things that we do have to attend to and we do have to help. But we have to keep the main thing the main thing. We want to work in that important non-urgent zone. So when you're looking to go ahead and schedule yourself, I know you may say you do that right now, but really go ahead and holding true to this. For example, I'll use a personal example. Yesterday, I had a meeting with a staff member at the beginning to go over their beginning of the year goals. I had a parent that came in and wanted just 5 minutes of my time. You and I both know there is no such thing as a 5-minute conversation. I asked him very nicely, unfortunately, I'm busy right now. I'll leave you with my admin assistant, and she'll be able to help you to schedule a time, or if you can just wait 15, 20 minutes, I'll be able to help out. And they understood. The situation that they had wasn't in the on fire category, but it was something that they wanted someone to speak with quickly, and they were able to do that. So I was able to work in that important, not urgent zone and still help with some of those things that were there. And also, if we're going to impact performance, move the needle for our kids, and help our own staff members, we've got to be where the game is played. That doesn't mean always just in the classroom itself. That means attending your professional learning team meetings. That means being side by side, working in curriculum with your staff. I really enjoy the opportunity to go ahead and sit side by side with curriculum because there's times that I get a chance to learn on my end. I was sharing with Dawn earlier that one of the opportunities that I had is I was in the game all day today. I had a chance to sub with 8th grade science today because we're short substitute teachers. That part of the game has to be played. So I had the opportunity to go ahead and work with our 8th grade students and learn a little bit more about science and actually see in the classroom what's taking place. I wouldn't go ahead and recommend subbing every day, but it's something that to make the game work here, things that we help out as we can. So think about it as a ship's captain. The principal's job is similar to that of a ship's captain. Keep an eye on the school's mission and vision and direction, and ensure that all staff members have the training, coaching, and support to do their jobs well. It doesn't say the captain does all the jobs. So think about it from your end. And I can say that there are times that I'm guilty of this as well. It's our job to make sure that the people that we have, whether it's our paraprofessionals, our admin assistants, our teachers, our other administrators who work with us, it's our job to make sure that they can do their jobs well so we can keep an eye on the big picture, our mission, our vision, our big goals that we have. If we're spending our time doing all the things that we're asking the rest of our staff to do, we know that we can't do our own jobs well. So thinking about that as being a ship's captain, just do some quick reflection on your own. Let's take a few minutes. How are you building that strong office team? Whether that's your admin assistant, your dean, your assistants, how are you building that strong office team to function as a team? How are you actually developing real teacher leaders? We can all develop our teachers, but in essence, we should have in some way, shape, or form, whether it's grade level or content level teacher leaders, we should have those leaders in place to help go ahead and move the group. We can't be the only leader when it comes to our educational teams. Also, how do we see and actually view and demonstrate our parents, that our parents and families are partners in our process to help our kids, whether that be events that we specifically have, how we communicate to our parents, how available we are to them while still keeping priority on the things that, keeping the big things. How are we going ahead and responding and keeping our parents and families in our community actually as partners? And last thing is creating that professional culture of self-managing teams. For example, we have in my building, we're a smaller building, we have grade level teams. And I have a building leadership team that's built up of a team leader from every grade level that are 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. It's also built up of one of our specials teachers, that our specialist classes are our band, FIAD, music, those types of classes. And also one member from our special education team and our counselor. We have those types of things that are very important for us, that we get together as a group to be able to make leadership decisions ourselves. From there, what we get a chance to do then is they take that message and continue to be leaders in their teams. The message doesn't come from Steve. The message comes from our group as a whole, and then they, as their leader, their responsibilities to carry out those tasks and also be a facilitator to make sure that we continue with the mission of what we're doing. Leveraging your admin assistant, I've mentioned a couple times, is huge. That person may make or break you in many different ways. They're not just the person out there, again, changing the system and changing our focus. They're not the person that's just typing documents for you, answering the phones and smiling and waving at people. They really are your teammate. They're the one that you have that that relationship with, where you spend more time with them than you do your spouse probably at home, or your significant other, or your pets. By far, you do. So you need to make sure that you have that working relationship very well. But they're your buffer. They're the one that can intercept 75% of the things that come to you, that come asking for your attention. Because again, as I said before, let's be real, they know what's going on in the building. They can help out. They can also triage many situations that come their way without really needing your assistance. Just an individual will always ask the principal first. They can help out in many ways. An example is a morning launch meeting, whether that's every day or maybe that's once a week, where you get a chance to sit down side by side, compare calendars, talk about what's the priority for that day or for that week, and then what tasks that maybe each of you are working on that you can make sure to help each other so you're not duplicating efforts. I use the Monty Python little icon there, as they are your gatekeeper. You may utilize them to schedule in your calendar instead of you doing that. You just need to give them parameters of how to actually do that effectively for you. That way you know how to go ahead and they know your big rocks that were to schedule, what can be moved, can't be moved, but they are the gatekeeper of coming through. My admin assistant knows there are certain times of the day where, in a nice way, I have to make sure that I have that, I'll say, protective type of a barrier, but at the same point, she also has to be able to filter through ideas of where I need to be able to be accessible to be able to help. So one more piece from our Leadership Theory 101 is the difference of being efficient and effective. We want to be efficient with our management, the things that we do and how we do them. But we really want to be effective with people. And that comes with being a great leader and demonstrating those leadership skills and growing our team leaders as well. Is the effectiveness with people takes a different approach than just the management logistical types of things. So speaking of that, take a couple seconds and just read this to yourself. Many of you have probably seen something like this before. And what it really highlights is that it's not about the words we say, but it's about how we say it. It's about the personal connections we have. It's the emotion, the passion, the eye contact, the body language. All those pieces are really important when we're working with others. So we're looking to go ahead and actually be effective with people. That effectiveness comes in how we communicate with others. And we have to make sure that in order to move that needle, we have to have the relationships with people and make sure they know where we're coming from to help them to continue to grow too. So number 4 in our 5 common school management problems is multitasking. You may have heard of this before. It is kryptonite for us. There is no doubt, coming back to the pictures we had earlier in the presentation, that we multitask every day. There's really, I'll say it's probably impossible to get around it, but we have to do the best job that we can to go ahead and focus on that. This is in the hyperdoc as well, and by no means do you need to read this as well, but it's just a short snippet from the New York Times article. The short version of this is that even if we think we do it well, no one multitasks well. There's enough research out there that shows that, as you can imagine, the more tasks that we add to our plate that we're doing, trying to do at the same time, the less effective that we are at all tasks. Whereas when we can laser focus in on 1, maybe 2 tasks and give our dedicated attention to that, we're going to be naturally more focused. That's one of our jobs, which is difficult to do, but leverage other people at your office to help you make sure that you are doing those things. So our last of the 5 common school management challenges is having a career, but not much of a life. I can't just say with a straight face that this is our job, just a job. It's not. If you've chosen to be in this career, you know that you have the passion, you care about kids, you care about our future, and it's not just punching in and punching out. We get that. We also know that we don't just go ahead and start at 8 and leave at 5. It doesn't work that way either. We take things home. Our significant others, our spouses, our pets, they all understand that we have other demands on us that may cause us to do things outside of a regular workday. But the 2 phrases there that really come to mind for me is, how does it benefit a man to gain the world if he loses his soul? So if you're giving everything that you have and you have nothing left, how is that going to be helpful for you as a person? And the phrase at the bottom there, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Whether that's your spouse, significant other, pet, family members, is you have to make time to be that whole person as well. Your friends need time of you, your family, they need time of you, and you've got to find that balance there. So the last 2 that we mentioned of our 10 core concepts is be efficient with things. with the logistics, with the stuff. But we have to make sure that we're effective with people. We have to build relationships, and how we communicate with them is very important. The last piece, just coming back to that phrase, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. You have to make sure that keeping in balance, that this is not just a job. This is something that we're passionate about, but it can't be your entire life. We have to make sure that we find a balance, wherever that balance is for you, whenever works for you, is to make sure that you have that life of yourself and you're able to give to others while still being that instructional leader for your building. So just wrapping up things on our end, and now I do get linear as far as for coming back to the presentation, is here are those 10 core concepts. I won't go ahead and read through them, but these connect together very well with the 5 challenges that we have. So these are also listed in the HyperDoc as well, but hopefully this is a great summary for you to come back to go look at those 10 pieces that were there. And again, mentioning before, these do weave very well with the 5 common school management problems that do impact us as leaders. So they don't operate specifically in isolation, but you hopefully through this presentation, you saw how they weave together. So we have one more poll. I'd like to think about is when I go to a conference, my goal is not coming back with 500 new things, because first of all, my staff would not love me. Second of all, I also know that's not realistic. When you go to a professional development or conference, my goal is to walk away with 1 or 2 things that I feel that impacted me the most, and either go ahead and resonate with me enough to go ahead and talk about how that may help us to move forward for implementation, or it resonated with me enough to go ahead and think about, you know what, it reassures what I'm doing. So what I'd like you to do is think about those things. With this in mind, how many of the ideas that I shared today, no matter how small, resonated with you strongly enough to maybe push you into action? So look at those 3 options and go ahead and respond to the poll.
All right, Steve, they're still rolling in here pretty quick, so I will give it 5 more seconds and we will shut it down.
Thanks, Robin.
All right. So it looks like the winner is 2 at 44%, followed by 1, and then followed by 3. So 0% for nothing new.
Outstanding. Well, that's great. I mean, I'm glad I was able to share something you felt was maybe new to you. And also you read the disclaimer at the bottom, don't pick 3. So I appreciate you doing that. I think it's important for us to think about that. Supporting our staff is important. And coming back, I use the phrase, the good idea fairy. The good idea fairy exists in every professional development you go to. It's just that you cannot let the good idea fairy take over what happens when you come back. I have to give a shout out to Dr. Joe Schrader. Joe is a mentor of mine. He works at Ossaw here in Wisconsin. And the information that I had the opportunity to share with you today, Joe has come and he has trained myself and our admin assistants, our entire district-wide leadership team and then administrative team. And this was something where he spent a couple of days with us. I've actually attended this training a couple times with him. Joe's a super smart guy about this and many topics. But what I share with you today was, in essence, a very short summary of what a 2-day training would be. So there's definitely opportunity to go and dig deeper and give some more opportunity for some, actually some collaboration and talking back and forth. But Joe has really been instrumental in helping out with that. So I want to thank you for being a very attentive audience today. Very appreciative to see that many of you took something from this, something small that maybe resonated with you. It's going to help you to be a better leader. And I thank you for what you do. No matter where you are, if this is your first year, second year, third year, hopefully you're all middle school administrators, because let's be real, that's the best where it is. But I appreciate you with doing what you're doing. The jobs that you have are hard, and sometimes they may feel thankless, but we know that in the end, it's all about our kids. My contact information is here, and you also have it in the HyperDoc as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. Gosh, what incredible strategies. I was writing down a few of my favorite nuggets you shared, and one of them was be efficient, with things or as a manager, and be effective, with people as a leader. And just that dichotomy, and realizing, yes, part of your job is management, kind of that day-to-day management, but it's also as that leader in that zone, that not urgent, important. So it's really, really great to have that in that context. And the develop and not evaluate our teachers, kind of the importance of that coaching piece. And so I wanted to just share with you how Van Andel Institute can help you administrators in that, in bringing that consulting and that coaching and those PD sessions on topics that are important to your staff and to move your students forward, as that instructional leader for your school. And we can also help your students through classroom field trips. And because you're on the webinar, whether you're in person or the recording, you can save 20% this school year on anything that we offer to support teachers, whether it's our professional development, our summer science conference, our instructional resources, tools for teachers, and our classroom field trips. And you can see all that information there. It's also in the HyperDoc. So please feel free to take a look at that. We'd love to be able to continue this conversation. And then finally, to thank you for joining us today. We have an opportunity for you to win a free lunch and learn on a topic for your teachers of your choosing. You can see the topics listed below. And how you get registered is when this webinar closes, you will get a survey. And if you fill out that survey, you'll be automatically entered into that free lunch and learn drawing. So again, thank you so much for joining. And Steve, thank you so much for sharing all of your experience and knowledge in what you do. So thanks so much.